welcome to another Insiders Elite. Today we're going to talk about origin story, our origin stories, and the concept of origin stories and how that can be used in your business. It's a really exciting topic. We're really excited to be able to share our stories with you guys today, but also then more broader on the topic of origin stories. Jamie.
Yeah. That beginning, it never fails to get me a little bit excited. It gets me a little bit excited. I play the music. We got the countdown going on. It's just a whole lot of fun. Yeah. Origin stories. Origin stories. If you don't have your origin story, if you can't share that compelling story of why you started, of what got you into that particular field, of why success is your only option, you're missing out on a massive, massive opportunity. Origin stories, you know what? They are the key to it all. People ultimately, they want to connect. People want to connect with you when you can share something that's truly meaningful, right? Mick and I, we were talking before the show, and I remember, now this isn't my origin story that I share, but I remember one of the things that I was doing when I was a kid. I was young. I don't know. I was like 6, 7, 8 years old or whatever. We used to live out on the farm. And on the farm, of course, we had different fruit trees and stuff. And one of the trees that we had lots of, we had cherry trees. We had lots and lots of cherry trees. And what was really interesting, I remember doing this, and this was back in the day when you used to be able to do this. We'd set up this little stand, just a little table and stuff. We'd go pick all these cherries. And we'd sit at the side of the road, and people would stop and they'd buy. And that was really my first exposure to business. I was literally like, oh, I can take this fruit, and it was free for us. Hey, we were kids. It was our farm. It was our thing. It was free. So what we do, I'd pick all this fruit, put it in the basket, and then we'd sell it. We'd exchange the fruit for money. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Because we can go buy toys, we can go buy hockey cards, we can go buy whatever it is that we wanted to buy. And I think for me, it was really at that moment that I recognized business is where it's at. Now, that's just one portion of a little bit of an origin story, but listen to that connection, right? I've got passion behind it. I've got that really, that true excitement behind it. And I'll never forget that moment. That origin story, when you can feel it, when it can be absolutely laden with emotion, and you can take it up to that next level where people can truly see, they can truly make the connection like, wow, this person's invested. This isn't just some, regular story that someone's telling. This person is truly invested in what they're doing. When you can create that can be the difference between a $1 million company and a 10 million or $100 million company. That's the real truth here today. Mick, origin stories for you. Thoughts that come to mind, or maybe even a story that you want to share with us.
Yeah, and like you said there before, there's that origin story gives you a chance to connect with that person. It gives you a chance to be inspired by why they do business, why they're in business, or what it is they're trying to achieve. It's the motivating force, I suppose, behind what it is that drives them. And for me, like early exposure to business, I remember having to raise money to go away on sporting trips. So we'd go get chocolates and we'd go up and down the street and we'd sell them for $2 to make money so that we could pay for the sporting trip. And I was like, you know what? This selling stuff and making money and doing things, this is business. Like this, if you want money, you just got to go out and make it. You can start a business and you can do this. So I was always a really, really successful fundraiser for the sporting organisations, so much so that most of the sporting trips I went on were almost free because I raised so much money, walking up and down the streets, going to neighbours, door knocking, trying to get sponsorship, even just selling chocolates, whatever the promotion was for that particular sporting group. There were so many, but I vividly remember the moment where I was walking up and down selling chocolates. Freddo Frogs, actually, it was. Walking up and down selling Freddo Frogs for $1 to raise money, and I come back with this huge pile of money, and I was like, man, business, like this must be what it's like to have a business. This is how you make money. You go and sell stuff when you have a business. This is what it's all about, and that got me inspired. And I've always had a keen interest all the way through school, high school, in business and investing in business classes and that kind of stuff. So and that early entrepreneurial, I suppose, spirit inspired me to be more invested in business, to learn about it, to study it, because I knew that was the way to be successful in life.
Yeah.
From that respect.
Yeah. And that's really exciting. And it's the emotion that really comes out there. Storytelling is designed to evoke an emotion within your listener. right? You didn't just say, yeah, so, I wanted to go on trips and you know what? We didn't have the cash. So I went and I sold chocolates and I earned money. And then we went on the trip and it was almost free. No, you gave me a whole bunch of extra information in there, information that served to deepen the impact, deepen that emotional impact, right? The magic behind storytelling is this, right? And I'd be curious to know how many listeners, how many viewers out there that when Mick was telling his story, did you see yourself walking down the road with that box of chocolates or whatever it was on your own first attempt, maybe at selling, maybe at doing business? I'd be curious to see how many people saw that vision in their heads. What's great about this is when you can do that, when you can create that strong impact through the use of storytelling, you reel in that audience. But what are people really looking for? Now, here's the thing. How many people here, again, if someone's got some comments or something, please share them on there. Go ahead, share the comments out there. But really think about this. If anyone's been to a personal improvement seminar or any seminar or anything like that, what are all the speakers doing? How are these things developed? Are they just dry PowerPoint slides over and over and over? Or instead, are they actually something else? Well, having gone to, God knows how many of them now, I know that it's something else. The majority of what you're seeing in any of these seminars, in any of these business conferences, anything like that, what are we hearing? We're hearing stories. We're hearing stories. Tony Robbins, Mick, you've been there. How many stories did you hear, when you've attended, Business Master, you've attended UPW, Date with Destiny, how many different stories did you hear from Tony Robbins up on stage?
Oh, hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds. He's constantly telling a story about something. Every piece of content, there's a story connected or two stories connected.
Yeah.
And he tells you the journey and how it was discovered. And it's a compelling story that just brings you in. And there's so many stories, but what it does, it takes you on a bit of a journey to experience that transformation that he went through so that you can understand how it feels. And then he takes you on that journey, but he uses stories to do so. All of the best stage presenters use stories. Some of the best that I've seen, like Tony Robbins, Scott Harris, even Gary Vee, when he gets up talking about stuff, he tells stories about the business and his wine journeys and different things. He tells origin stories and stories about himself and his experiences, and it takes you on that journey and it brings you in. It makes you want to be connected with him more.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, no question about it. Stories are what sell. And that's one of the great things about it. That when you can remove the selling, when you can simply share that story into there, you're going to create that rapport with that potential customer, with that potential client, because you know what? They've already walked the walk in the head. They've already done that with you. Guess what? They are naturally going to want more. Now, storytelling in itself, very impactful. But what about the origin story? Now, I shared a quick little story. Mick, you shared a quick story too. That was maybe our entrepreneurial origin story, right? That could be our entrepreneurial origin story. But what's really got us here today? What's put us in this place whereby here we are, doing this show on a weekly basis. We're getting the information out there. We're working with people on, 6 of the 7 different continents. Mick, you've got clients all over the world, much like myself. We work with so many diverse clients. What got us to this place? Why do we do it? Mick, is it just to make money? Is this just a thing where, you know what, hey, I'm just going to get out there, I'm just going to rack in a bunch of money? Is that really what it's all about? Or is it about something else?
It's definitely about something else. And for me, the journey started when I was sort of a teenager, and I'd had that keen interest in business, and I used to pay attention to the families and the people around me, and I saw a lot of business owners. They were working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I'm hanging out with their kids, and their parents are never home. And I see arguments and stress, and you can pick all this stuff up. But then I see some other families, they've got businesses, they're super successful, they spend a lot of time together, they go on cool holidays, they seem to be financially independent or wealthy in my eyes as a teenager's scale or perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, like, why is it that and I knew there had to be something different, there had to be something better. And you saw so many families, kids never with their parents, or they're in daycare all the time and getting raised by daycare because their parents are so busy working ridiculous amounts of hours. And I knew there had to be a better way because some families didn't have it and some families did. So that sparked my interest, and that's taken me on a journey. And I've started working for small business. So I had opportunities to go do apprenticeships for big mining companies and different things when I was at school. But I chose to go work for small business because I was passionate about helping families and doing that. I didn't know how to articulate that at the time, but so I went and worked for small business and helped a family business. So I worked there as an apprentice and then an electrician. And I learned more about business, and I went on that. The more I got involved, and was during that time as an apprentice, I knew that one day I would start my own small business and it would be done differently.
Yeah.
I knew when I was an apprentice that there would be a point where I would start my own small business. There was no question about it in my mind that I would start my own business. Back then, I thought I was going to start an electrical contractor business because that was my trade. But I knew, and it was also, as an early tradesman, I knew that I needed to learn more about business because there had to be a better way to do it.
Yeah.
So I studied, I learned, I read books, I went to university, I did a university degree. I went and worked for another small business into a supervisory management type role and helped to grow that company from 2 employees to 80 with all the things as I implemented all the stuff that I learned. So I knew that, and that what was driving me is my desire to help families, to help people, to help business owners be successful and have that freedom, have that ability to be able to go away from their business for 2 weeks on holidays without having a meltdown because everything's going to collapse on them. That drove me to go to Business Mastery, to Date with Destiny, because I knew I needed to be a better leader to be able to achieve these things and need to be better at what I was doing. It drove me to finish my MBA, while working full time with babies. And this was the passion that drove me to be successful. And that's the passion that drove me to start my business, Awaken Business, because I knew that I could help more than just one family. If I start my own business, I can help as many families as I can get exposure to, so I started this show so I can help small business owners in the middle of COVID, the world's shutting down, people are freaking out. We just wanted to help business owners have an opportunity to switch their mindset, because we knew there's an opportunity in the COVID shutdown. There's opportunities everywhere. So if we could share that and create some opportunities and share some of the passion and knowledge with the business owners of the world, we knew that we'd be able to make a difference. And that's what drove me, and that's what drives me still today. And that's why I've started this business. That's why Jamie and I do these shows. I just want to help business owners and families create that freedom that they deserve.
Yeah. Listen to that story, right? What's really sticking out here is it's absolutely clear beyond any shadow of any sort of doubt whatsoever. It's not about the money. It's not, geez, how many clients can I go enroll and, get on the bankroll. It's not about that whatsoever. Right? The clear message here is helping out. Why? Because there's a very personal connection. Listen to what Mick said early on, right? What was he seeing? These families that were having daycares, daycare centers, bring their children up, raise their children for them. Right? Family, you can tell through his story that number one, family is a very, very, very key value in Mick's life. Number two, making it easier, finding a better way to do it, finding something else, right? A different way to actually go out and, make those changes, to get that knowledge, to go learn so that you can then take it and really help those same people, those same families, to really make sure that they don't have to face that, so that families can go ahead, spend that time with their children. Most importantly, though, it's helping those business owners. You've done the work for them. You've invested in you. You've taken the time to get your MBA, to go attend all this training, to learn from some of the very best in the world, and then share that information out there, kind of like what we do every single week on the show here. Now, that's really amazing. It's heartfelt. It's emotional, and you can't fake that. Right? Those of you watching the show here right now, or those of you who are going to be watching the replay, just really take a look at Mick. You can't bullshit that. You really can't. It's coming from that place of heart, and it's coming from that place of passion. When he says he helps businesses, he helps people grow, this guy means it. Right? He's out there to really make that impact. That's the power of a great origin story, especially telling it in that way, making it personal, making it connection. It's like, whoa, this guy's not just some other coach. This guy's not just some other trainer that's going to come in and, recycle a bunch of stuff that's already been, shared by someone else. No, right? He's done the work. He's going to put his own spin on it. And not only that, he's got that real world practical expertise and experience that he's gained from being in the position himself. I wonder if I can learn something from this guy. Now look at that. All of that simply by you telling your story.
Yeah, it's
impactful.
Stories are really impactful, and you know, I love to share. I probably should share that story more. You know, because that's what drives me. That's what motivates me. That's why I can get up at 4:30 in the morning and work all day. And that's what drives me to prioritize the time. You know, like I work and then I help the kids for school and I go pick them up and then I hustle in between. And, you know, that's what drives me to achieve so that I can help business owners. And that's what, and like you said it, you nailed it, Damon. Family is my number one value. And that's what drives me to help other business owners so they can be the best for their family.
Yeah. When you share that story out there, there's absolutely no doubt whatsoever that you're in this for all the right reasons. You're doing what you love. You're following that passion, that heartfelt passion. And guess what? When people do that, they tend to succeed at exponential levels. Right? It's absolutely the truth. That story, I believe, Mick, I believe that you could take that story out, and no matter who that potential client is, when you can share that with those prospects, with those people, so that they really get an insight into who you are, when you go ahead and share that story out with them, it's going to create that level of connection. Because let's face it, we do want to connect with our clients, right? We want them wanting more. Right. You've taken me into your story. You've actually taken me into a piece of your life. You've exposed me to that. You had the vulnerability to be able to do that. And I can clearly see that when I go ahead and work with you, if I'm in the trades industry, if I'm a tradie and I go ahead and make that choice to work with you, I have no doubts that you're aligned with me. That's the power of that story, right? Yeah. That's really, truly giving me that certainty, right? One of the human needs, a certainty that you're that person. You get where I'm coming from. People like to work with people like themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. They love to. Human nature is, like you say, people like themselves. So they love to connect with people, and they love to, when they align with something that they connect on some level. They find when you tell those stories, it gives them an opportunity. Like the selling the Freddo frogs up and down the street. How many kids, especially in country areas, have walked up and down the street selling fundraisers, and it gives you a chance to connect. Like, hey, I've done that too.
Yeah.
You know, it builds a connection with your audience and with people that matter. And that's the power of stories. It's not about, it's just about sharing something personal from you to build connection. And that's what we need to do more of as we engage with our audience and our clients.
No question. Vulnerability is the key. Right? Vulnerability is the key. And the stories, those origin stories, are often built from a place in time, a point in time when, something maybe even traumatic happened. Right? My own story. I shared a little bit of my entrepreneurial journey, but that's not really my origin story. That's not really the moment that put everything here into place. For me, right, I was at the top of the game. I was a corporate executive. Right, I was working with teams that were in 5 different countries. Right, had the brand new home. Right, I was living that life that I truly wanted. Right, I was meant to living that life that I really believed that I was supposed to. And then it all came crashing down. I remember it. It was October 8th, 2015. Right, there I was sitting in the boardroom, and I was staring down at a manila envelope. Now, my boss was sitting across from me. And I knew what was in that envelope. Right? How did I know that? Because the business itself had been going through a bit of a downturn. They were letting people go left, right, and center. Right? It was no question whatsoever as to why I was in there. What were they trying to do? The business itself was actually trying to stay afloat. Right? We had, the company itself. It was in the oil and gas industry, and it had hit some hard times. Right? I really believe that this wasn't how it was supposed to go. I had just recently moved. right? I'd proven myself to this company time and time again. I'd put in the time, the effort, the hours, doing whatever it took. If it meant getting there at 5:30 in the morning, I was there at 5:30 in the morning. I sacrificed time with my family. I sacrificed, being with those who I love the most to make sure that that company succeeded. And there I was. I was the casualty of misfortune. See, the good thing is I didn't realize it at the time. I really, truly didn't realize it at the time, but it was probably one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. See, what was happening in the background is I was beginning to build my coaching practice. I've been coaching for a few years at this point, but I was scared to go all in. It's like, well, I could, maybe I'll just dip my toes in the water. I'll just kind of put them in and see if this is the right thing, right? The other thing that I was facing at that time too was massive uncertainty, right? One of the big things is, hey, you can coach anyone, anywhere, anytime on anything. And although that sounds great on the surface, right? That sounds just absolutely wonderful. Hey, you're a super coach. You can coach anyone, anywhere, anytime. There was absolutely no specialty to it. I was in a great big freaking red ocean of life coaches. I knew that I had to make a change because this whole thing, right? I'm in this place right now. I'm holding this termination letter in my hand. I'm in a place where it's like, literally, it's like, oh shit, what am I going to do? I just moved. I just bought this house that was $600,000-$700,000. How the hell am I going to pay for the mortgage? Like, I got no job, right? Talk about some stress. But I'll tell you what, that termination, and again, it wasn't because I was fired, right? The company was going through a downsizing. Why were they going through a downsizing though? Because they had a very inefficient allocation of resources, right? Their revenues were falling big time. The company was essentially bleeding. They were doing every single thing that they could to keep it alive, to keep it afloat. It got me thinking though. That was a really interesting part there. What if that falling revenue and those operational inefficiencies, because that's really what it was, what if it could be cured? What if I could use my corporate experience, all the experience that I had gained up to that point from not only that company, but other companies as well, and really truly unlock the code, figure out how to make it so that other companies wouldn't have to face the same thing, but not just other companies. I love seeing companies succeed, but what if I could help prevent someone else from being in this same position that I was? Walking out the door, and I think I ended up leaving at 11 o'clock that day or something. And I was kind of in shock, right? It's like you see in the movies, right? The person's got the little banker's box with all their shit in it and all that. That was me. There I was, like 11 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not used to being outside at this time. I'm used to, working away in my corner office on the 23rd floor. Not used to being outside at this time of day. And here I am, I'm holding this banker's box. It's like, holy shit, I'm like a picture out of a movie. All right. And I'm like, you know what? I think I can fix this. I think I can do something about it, right? I knew at that point, I'm like, you know what? Screw this. This is the opportunity that I've been waiting for. I've got the coaching. I got the coaching credential, all that sort of thing. It's time to go all in. And it's time to go ahead and learn from the absolute best in the world. So what did I do? I doubled down, right? Tony Robbins, began following him, took his programs, totally doubled down. And as a result of that, became one of the Tony Robbins coaches, became a Tony Robbins business results trainer. I would train companies all over the world on Tony's practices. But it's never enough just to have that one guru who's maybe not your guru. I knew I needed to learn from more. So what did I do? I doubled down. Jordan Belfort, right? Wolf of Wall Street. I learned from him. I was in his mastermind. I learned from Kerwin Ray, just like you did, brother. Right? I learned from Gary Vee. I had the opportunity to sit down with Gary Vee, learn from him. Grant Cardone, Cardone University. I doubled down and got everything that I needed to. But I'll tell you where everything literally changed is when I discovered a completely new way to dominate the world of sales. And that comes from truly one of the masters of the universe when it comes to pitching. That's Oren Klaff. That one's emotional for me. That one was a pretty amazing opportunity, and it's something that I'm currently working with them right now, which is really quite amazing. What's great about this, though, is taking all that knowledge and really, truly helping businesses out there. Number one, make sure that they can retain their people so that their people don't have to go through what I went through, but also see them grow, see them expand, and see them scale beyond what they ever thought was possible. That's why I do what I do.
Wow. And as you can see in that story, it's It's emotional and it's stuff you can't fake. You can just feel the emotion coming through the screen. You know, that story and that place, and you're telling that story. I literally had the picture from the movie of a dude in a grey suit with a black tie walking out the door, holding a cardboard box with a poster roll sticking out the top, walking down the street with his bits and pieces in a book in a box. You know, like that's the exact picture I had. You know, you've told that story in such a compelling way, with emotion, with real integrity and real descriptions to everyone, and it builds that connection. Everyone's seen a movie where that guy's walked out, and it's built that, and everyone's been through that point where they needed to step into something, and that's the power of a compelling origin story.
Yeah, and
we share these stories, one, so you can learn some more about what drives us, but two, so that we can share the power of an origin story. You know, have a look at Jamie, feel the emotion coming out of the screen as he's gone through his journey to where he is now. And it's powerful, it's impactful. And we know, you can tell the reason Jamie and I do this together is because we both do this from the heart for different motivations at different levels. As you can see, mine's from the family, and Jamie's is so that no one else in business has to go through the same situation that he went through and having to lay people off and be redundant. And it's the same motivators, similar motivators that we drive for, but they're from the heart. And that's what makes real connection, is when you're doing the stuff for the right reasons from the heart. It's powerful, it's impactful, and we know that we can make a difference across the world.
Absolutely. I mean, when I look back on that, I mean, one of the things that drives me nuts is organizational inefficiencies. There's so much that businesses can do. There's so much that businesses can do to actually tighten it up. It doesn't mean laying people off. Maybe it's looking at ways to automate, delegate, eliminate. Maybe it's ways to just tighten up the processes. So instead of worrying about, geez, how many people do we have to lay off to hit target? How many more people do we have to hire so that we can actually blow that target out of the water? See, I struggle with people having to be let go. Those people who are productive, those people who go and make that difference. I really struggle with them having to rely on someone to really, truly have their best interest at heart. Businesses, for the most part, businesses have their own best interest at heart. But the problem with that is it creates disengagement. It creates situations like I was in. Right there was literally, it was 6 months. 6 months after I had moved, I uprooted my entire family. I got into this crazy, freaking insane mortgage, all that sort of stuff. And all of a sudden it's literally like, oh shit. Like, what am I going to do? And it wasn't, and at first I was pissed off with the company. But then I really started thinking about, well, what could they have done different? Well, they could have not laid me off. Well, sure. They could have not laid a lot of people off. But I'm not unique in that way. What could they specifically have done differently? Well, they could have changed the way they did things. They could have changed the way they were running the company. They could have taken a look. They could have done some organizational effectiveness checkups and really changed the way things were done. They could have, utilized the team, the staff, one heck of a lot better. But it was because of those organizational inefficiencies that really put me in that position. Now, today I'm thankful for it. I am so freaking grateful for it. It's seriously the best thing that could have happened for me. Right. We all hear that life happens for us, not to us. Trust me, that day, I really thought life was happening to me. I really believe that. What the hell is this? Why is this happening to me? But you see, it wasn't happening to me. It was truly happening for me. It was giving me that gentle nudge out of the nest. It's like, here, go, fly. That's really what that was for me. I've reframed and changed the meaning behind that now. And it's also given me that passion, that thirst, that desire for me to do what I do. Right? Let's eliminate, or let's, greatly minimize organizational inefficiencies in business. Right? That's a big, big, big thing for me. It comes all the way from the foundational, right? Whether you've got, that purpose, mission, values, if you've got a clear base to work from. It's also about communication in the organization. It's about knowing your numbers, knowing where they're going, knowing what you can do with them. Efficient sales processes where you don't have to sell anymore. How good would that be? Increase your sales by not having to sell anymore? I don't know about you, Mick, but to me, that's mind blown.
Yeah.
Literally mind blown on that. When you can take all those skills, all that knowledge, bring it to a business and see them flourish. To me, that's what it's all about, because when I see those businesses growing, when I see those businesses flourishing, when I see them scaling and bringing on those new team members, that's how I know that I'm making that difference. That's really, truly how I know that. That lights me up, because I don't ever want to see someone in that position where they've done the work, they've put in the effort, they've done everything, and really through no fault of their own, they're being let go. They've got a small little severance package. It's like, oh, well, it didn't work out too bad. That's someone's life that you're playing with. Now, make no mistake, if you're a lazy dogger, if you're not doing the work, then yeah, down the road kicking turds, no question. But if you're putting your heart and soul and everything into it, and that position is downsized, made redundant because the business wasn't fully taking care of themselves, wasn't putting in operational efficiency policies, that's on them. That's not on you. And I never want to see that happen. I know what it was like for me. It scared the crap out of me. Like, I'm not kidding. It scared the crap out of me, because for a while there, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was shaking. I was like, I got the box. I'm walking out there. I remember, the sun was like, it was actually a nice day. The sun was shining that day and everything. But it was like I was frozen cold because I had no idea what I was going to do. I was like frozen in fear. I'm like, this can't happen to other people. This can be avoided. This can be changed. All we have to do is tweak the business. And when we tweak the business, we can make sure that other people don't have to be in that same position.
Yeah, that's powerful. And when you're telling that story, Jamie, I realized sometimes it takes a bit of a push from the universe for us to have the courage to take that leap. Like I said, as a kid, I always knew that I would start a business, but I hadn't taken the leap. I was a part owner of the business that I was in. And for me, it took a big breakdown in that relationship, I suppose, in that business arrangement for me to get to the point where enough was enough, that I took the leap to go do my own thing, to really back myself, to live my passion and go and share this with business owners across the world. Like I said, I've been doing it for a few years, part-time on the side, dabbling, toes in the water, coaching people across the world still. It wasn't until, you get that big shove from the universe that really pushes you and gives you, like you say, it pushes you out of the nest. It's time to fly. Like a bird being taught to fly by their mother. There, when the time is right, they push them out of the nest and they fly. And they, there's a story they tell. It's called the feather brick truck story. Sometimes the universe talks to you and tickles you with a feather, and it's time. Sometimes it throws a brick at you, and other times you get hit by a truck.
Yeah. And
both Jamie and I, we were very slow learners, and we didn't listen, and we had to get hit by a truck before we had the courage to. Jamie got made redundant and forced him to do it, and mine was a big breakdown of the business arrangement that I was in that forced me to make some tough decisions about what I was doing and where I was going.
Yeah. So your life, really hear this. And if there's young people on, like, really, really, really take this. My son, he's 15, and he just got his first job, which is really kind of cool. Right, he's working. One of the big pieces of information I told him, it wasn't, hey, go in there, work hard, put everything in, although that's kind of a given. What I told him to do was this. I said, write down your story. He wants to be a chef, right? His aspirations, he wants to be a chef. I'm like, look, when you're famous, when you've got those Michelin stars, when you've gone and done that, people are going to want to know what your story is. And I'll tell you what, for the most part, when I think back to my early days, well, I remember shoveling shit in barns. Right, I was working in the horse barns and the cow barns and all that, shoveling shit. That was some of my first job. But there's a lot of stuff I don't remember. Whether it's just like I've forgotten, whatever, I'm getting old, I don't know what it is. I've forgotten. But here's the thing. If you're a young person, you're listening to this, start writing down your story. Mm-hmm. Really take some time. Take notes each day. What did you notice? What didn't you like? Right? Did you get that first job and you found out that you had to go, plunge the toilet because someone took a big dump in there and they plugged up the toilet? People will want to hear this. People will want to know that story. People will want to know that you've got that piece of reality within you. Here it is, the famous Michelin chef that started out at, McDonald's or whatever it was. Like, how cool is that? How cool of a story is that? People want to know that because they will connect with you. Mm. That's a big part of it. So, number one, younger people out there, if you're listening, if you're watching, go ahead and write down your story. Take notes. from each day. Just a little thought. I'm not saying get into journaling and this and that, although that's not a bad habit. Right? It's not a bad thing to do. But just take some notes. Write down what you were feeling, what you thought, what was going on. Because someday when you need to tell that story, you've got everything to go back on. People who are older, right? People who have been in it for a time, start to go back. You can do it. You can do it easily and effortlessly. Just go back to that place in your life and be 5, 10 years ago. Think about why you're here now. What's put you in this place? What had you start that business? What was the big moment? And trust me, there is a moment, right? There was a moment in time. For me, for Mick, our moments are very clear. Something happened in that time. And in a moment, everything changes. Sure as hell did for me. Right? It really completely did for me. Go back and start to tell your story. You know, why did you pick what you picked? If you're in business, why are you in business? What is it about that particular field, that particular area that's got you sparked up, that's got you interested to do what it is you're doing? These are where you start that story from. Because people want to know. If you don't believe me, just go look in the last 10 years how many reality TV shows have been out there. Oh my God, we got the singing shows, The Voice, American Idol, British Idol. We got, America's Got Talent. We got all those. We got Survivor. We got, oh God, right? Naked and Afraid. There's like tons of different, right? There's thousands of reality shows out there. There's a reason why, because people want the real stuff. And I get it. It's television, right? There's a certain amount of scripting that goes into that. But for the most part, people want to know. People want to know about you. People want to know that origin story. And when you fill it with intrigue, right? I could have stopped my origin story where here I am. I've got the box outside. I'm holding my banker's box with all my shit in it. And I don't know what the hell to do. And I could have stopped it there because that's a massive intrigue ping. It's like, well, Jamie, how did you get from that point where you're holding that box to where you are right now? I could have stopped it there, but I wanted to give everyone that full story. There's tons of different things that you can do and how you can utilize that origin story. I would implore you, discover what it is. Mick, any tips, any tricks, any extra information that we could share with the viewers, with the listeners, to really help them start on that journey of crafting and creating their origin story?
Yeah, look, sometimes it's tough, especially when you hear the big guys on stage and they tell this super compelling origin story, and you say, well, look, I don't really have one. I just grew up in a normal life. And, for me, I grew up in a normal family. I had a mum and a stepdad, and my dad is, broken family, whatever you want to call it. I don't call it broken. I just call it a normal family. Mm-hmm. Went to public school, went to high school, got an apprenticeship, just got a job, went through life. Like, that's just a normal story. I don't have a compelling story. Pick the moments that were key in decisions that got you to where you want to go. What was it that made you decide to go be an electrician? What was it that made you decide to take on that corporate role? What was it? What was driving you there? Like, think about the decisions that you made at certain points that took you in a certain direction, and what was the driver? Because they're the important parts of the story, those key decisions. The reason, and thinking back now, well, these were the drivers. I could have just said, yeah, look, did this, I did that, I got a trade, then I decided I want to do an MBA. But it's not the reason behind the decision. So that the really powerful part of telling a good story is think about the reasons behind the decisions and talk about those moments, because they're the bits that bring people in. Well, why did you decide that? And that's the bit that builds connection, because it's personal and it comes from the inside. So before you say you don't really have a compelling origin story, it was just a normal life, think about the moments that made the decisions and talk about those. That's really, really powerful. That's the one tip I can give you that is really helpful when you're thinking and crafting an origin story. Powerful.
Very, very, very powerful. Think of the moments. Think of those moments when something happened, when you made a decision, when you decided that this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going in on. Maybe you are later on in life, you're like, you know what, screw it. I'm not doing this job, J-O-B, just over broke. I'm not doing this thing anymore. I'm done. I need to go live my life. I've been suppressing this feeling, this emotion for the longest of times. Now it's time to go. See, that's the things that people want to know about, that people want to hear. If you're in that place where you're looking at making a change, Now is the perfect time to go ahead and document what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what's going on. If you've recently made a change, just simply go back. Why did you do it? Were you just so frustrated and so pissed off? Someone was micromanaging you, telling you what to do. They were all over, all on top of you. You just couldn't stand it anymore. If that was the case, share that. Because I guarantee you there's something that you're doing in your new position, in your new entrepreneurship, that's not going to be the pain, all the grief that you felt before. That's what people want to know. That's the point that people are going to connect with you on. Take it, find it, discover it, put in the work, put in the effort, right? It's probably taken me, to narrow down my origin story into exactly what I wanted to. I've probably been working on it for a year. And I had different iterations of it, of what it meant, this and that. It wasn't only until recently, really. And that's, that's thanks a lot, to my affiliations with Daniel Berger, with Orrin Claff of Pitch Industries and Intersection Capital, through working with this team, really truly helping me refine and get it clear. It was like, I had the aha moment. I had that pivotal moment where it's like, oh my God, that's it. That's it. It's not this and this and this. The story was the same. Everything centered around that point where I was sitting on that table. I'm looking down at that envelope and I knew what was in the envelope. I didn't have to open it. I knew what was in there. Right? Everything centers around that point, but the story I told really different. It wasn't until, I started putting two and two together. Like, I love helping businesses. I love helping businesses grow and scale and, look at better ways to do things and see them really, truly, capture all the success that they can. It wasn't until I put one and one together to say, oh, hey, if I did this and this was really what I did, that would make a really great story. And sure enough, it does. So put in the time, put in the effort, dig out your story because people want to know.
And the other side of that is it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, it's taken Jamie a year. He didn't not share his story for a year. He told the versions that he had and he refined it. He told it again and he told it again and refined it and told it again and again and refined it and refined and refined. And now he's got a story that's really compelling. It's even better than it was before, but he still told it along the way. So it doesn't matter if it's not this perfect, super compelling story. Tell it anyway and then refine it and tell it and refine it and tell it and refine it. And that's how things get better, because perfection is a poor target to aim for because it means you stop trying.
Yep.
Stop being better. So go out there, practice your story, tell the world why you're in business, what it is that drives you.
No question. With that said, I think we have used up all our available time for today. Listeners, viewers out there, I hope everyone got a lot out of this. This has been pivotal for us. Right? We've got some pretty amazing stories. What's yours? We'd like to know. We'd like you to share it with us. If you've got a great story, if you want to get on here, if you want to share your story, your thoughts, whatever it is, let us know, right? Send us a message, drop us a DM, send us an email, whatever it takes. You can reach us by 1,000 different means. Reach out to us. We'd love to get your story out here. And if we can help your brand grow, we are all in.
Absolutely. Share your origin story. We'd love to hear them. With that said, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show and I hope you loved our stories as much as we do. And we'll see you next week.